Thanks for tuning in to this episode. Make sure you download our free mobile apps available on Apple and Android. We are dealing with someone in the White House who has two faces, and they are globalism and nationalism. Nationalist is a good thing. Globalism, we've all seen the fallout from that face. We've seen the Obama administration. We've seen what happens under George Bush. We've seen stretching all the way back to when they created this liberal world order. That's the current world order, is the liberal world order. The one that is based on globalism. The one that is based on lies. But now, we supposedly have a nationalist in the White House. Or do we? An article was just published in the Wall Street Journal, why Donald Trump decided to back off NAFTA threat. And before I read through some of this to you, I want to read you a direct quote from the president himself. This is the defining quote that proves we have a two-faced president. Mr. Trump dismissed talk about a split inside his White House between aides with a nationalist or a globalist orientation. He says specifically, "Hey, I'm a nationalist and a globalist," he said. "I'm both, and I'm the only one who makes the decision. Believe me." That is what Trump said. His specific words are, "I am both." Sorry, you can't be both. Now, you can play both, but that means there's a third-party agenda going on. This two-faced flip-flop that we're witnessing is because he is what? I'm going to leave that decision up to you, the viewer. Let's read through this. Why Donald Trump decided to back off the NAFTA threat. The president wanted to show action on key promises before 100-day mark, but Mexico's Nieto and Canada's Trudeau urged him not to withdraw from accord. President Donald Trump was prepared to end the North American Free Trade Agreement deal, which had governed trade relations for the past 23 years. And that is something I think a lot of us were cheering for, the end of NAFTA. That would have been great. But instead of ending it, the president has decided he's just going to renegotiate. As rumors spread of the possible action, Mexican President Enrique called the president urging him not to pull out of the accord. "Let me think about it," Mr. Trump said. Within a half an hour, a call came in from Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau with a similar request. After the talks, Mr. Trump was convinced they're serious about it and I will negotiate rather than terminate, the president said in an interview with the Wall Street Journal on Thursday. Now, I know a lot of people wanted to get out of this NAFTA deal. And I also know that a lot of people need NAFTA to survive. It's helped them. It's helped their business. I know that as well. But NAFTA has been screwing the U.S. Meanwhile, Sonny Perdue, the agricultural secretary, who took office 2 days earlier, and Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross met with Mr. Trump and showed him a map indicating the states where jobs would be lost if the pact collapsed. According to a person familiar with the matter, many were farm and border states that voted heavily for Mr. Trump. Those conversations, along with a flood of calls to the White House from business executives, helped steer Mr. Trump away from an idea that some of his own advisors feared was a rash and unnecessary threat to two trading partners who fully expected to renegotiate the agreement away. But Mr. Trump wanted to show dramatic action on key campaign promises before he hits his 100 days in office on Saturday. And the threat would have showed his supporters that he was willing to take steps opposed by the establishment to upend American trade policy. Mr. Trump insists the talks will take place amicably among allies he likes and respects, though he also reminded them that he was willing to entertain an extreme option in service of rewriting American trade policy, and insisted that he could put the option back on the table if the coming talks don't proceed the way he would like. At the same time, the gyrations risked weakening the U.S. position by unifying Canada and Mexico in their strategies to counter the U.S., irking key lawmakers he needs to back him, and exposing his inability to overcome the strong domestic support for NAFTA that he has helped rally. I expect the administration to closely consult with Congress before such major trade policy decisions are made, said Utah Republican Senator Orrin Hatch, chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, which oversees trade, archly reminded him of the need to take the time to work with Capitol Hill. Withdrawing from NAFTA would have significant effects on the American economy. It was a trial balloon, but it didn't work, said Mexican economist Luis de la Calle, a trade expert who had been a senior negotiator on the pact. Next time, nobody will believe it. People start to figure things out. But Mr. Trump said in the interview that he still holds his strongest card. We'll terminate NAFTA if we're unable to make a deal, but hopefully we won't have to do that. The Trump administration jolted markets and stoked panic among business leaders as multiple aides sent signals that officials were considering issuing an order that would begin the 6-month process of having the U.S. withdraw from the three-nation trade agreement. It was floated as a possible stick Mr. Trump would wield to force a quick renegotiation on terms he wants. He was blamed the agreement for encouraging manufacturers to relocate to Mexico and for expanding U.S. trade deficits with its border neighbors. By 10:30 p.m. Wednesday, the White House issued a statement saying Mr. Trump had decided not to terminate NAFTA at this time. I'm going to stop reading this article. This article is available on the Wall Street Journal. But again, I'm going to read you that quote at the very bottom of this massive article here. Mr. Trump dismissed talk about a split inside his White House between aides with a nationalist or globalist orientation. Hey, I'm a nationalist and a globalist, he said. I'm both, and I'm the only one who's making the decision. Believe me. Anything that happens within the administration is Trump's decision. If he follows the globalist Kushner, it's Trump's decision. If he follows Bannon's decisions, if he follows Bannon, it's Trump's decision. It all comes down to Trump. He is the one who is making these decisions. We bombed Syria because of Trump. We did not bomb Syria because of Kushner. He's flip-flopping because of him, not because of his aides or his advisors. It is Trump. And the man is appearing to be more two-faced than ever. You can't be a nationalist and a globalist. There are several people who are warning Trump, don't you dare forfeit us to the globalist New World Order. Pat Buchanan calls for the POTUS, or Trump, to not forfeit us to a New World Order and globalist decision-making. On Tuesday, conservative author Pat Buchanan called for President Trump to not forfeit America to a New World Order and a globalist decision-making. Mr. Buchanan made these comments during an interview with Breitbart News daily host Alex Marlow, during a powerful monologue on why the Trump administration must preserve the populist nationalist base which got him elected. Stop forfeiting our sovereignty and independence of action that was won for us back 200 and some years ago, Mr. Buchanan said as he described the issues which brought President Trump's landslide victory. Stop forfeiting that to some new world order and globalist decision-making. Once Trump won, he was the leader of the Republican Party, Mr. Buchanan said. Now, there are many issues on which I remain a solid conservative Republican, as I've always been. On the Supreme Court, for example, on the slow growth of the government rather than these big programs, on belief in the private sector, and belief in cutting the corporate tax rates and making America more competitive in the world. But at the same time, there are these new issues, securing America's borders, protecting the sovereignty of the United States, Mr. Buchanan continued. So on all these issues, I felt that you had a marriage, a potential marriage here between the Republican base, the conservative base, and the new populist nationalist conservatives. And that these two forces together, if they stayed united, could get a tremendous amount done. We're not going to agree on everything. My concern has been that it hasn't really come off as smoothly as one would have hoped, Mr. Buchanan continued. Quite frankly, there's an awful lot of forces in this city of Washington, D.C., where I was born and raised, that really want to cashier and dump the populist nationalist agenda. Excuse me, but that's the future of the world. You take a look at all countries all over the world, populism, ethno-nationalism, economic nationalism, sovereignty concerns, identity concerns. These are what is moving mankind. With all due respect, the European Union is yesterday. Mr. Buchanan concluded, look, All of us are American citizens. Everyone here who has taken the oath of loyalty to the government of the nation of the United States. But in the world arena, it means that we look out first and foremost for the national interests of the United States of America. We are not acolytes of some ideology, some globalist ideology that dates back to Immanuel Kant and people like that, where we're going to create some new world order and we're going to fit ourselves into that. No, we're not acolytes of some ideology, some globalist experiment. Can't be a nationalist and a globalist at the same time. It's two-faced. They're going to collide continually because nationalism is country first. Globalism is everybody else first. The two will continually collide. That means we're going to see a lot of conflict, a lot of division, a lot of divide within the administration. A lot of stagnation because, of course, if Trump leans globalist on one decision, that could, affect the nationalist decision he makes. Again, we have to realize this man is two-faced. That right there says it all. Two-faced. That means he could tell us one thing while he does another. That means that in reality, he could tell us this is good for the country. What, in reality, it's only good for the elite. It's only good for the globalists. The actual definition of two-faced is insincere and deceitful. We had better be careful. We had better be careful. I'm not trying to bash Trump. These are his words. These are his words, not my words. I didn't say this. He did. Hey, I'm a nationalist and a globalist, he said. Those are his words, not mine. Let's see what happens. I want to thank you guys so much for watching and listening. God bless and carry on. We are under attack. The mainstream media is getting desperate. The old media is dying. And they're not going anywhere without a fight. We must weather the storm. We have something they don't. You. We need your help. Become a member of the Christian Truther for $1.50 per month, using the discount code in the description to support us in this fight, and get access to all of our unlimited content. God bless you and thank you.